As Office 365 has evolved, Microsoft's created a little bit of confusion in the terminology they've used for some other technology. Specifically, what is a group versus what's a team versus what is Teams the application? We're going to take some time today to try to help you understand the difference between these terms. Hi, my name is Matt, and we're going to talk today a little bit about some confusing terminology that Microsoft has and how it can impact you. A lot of our customers may not realize this is a problem until they've already created some resources and created themselves a problem. And then when they understand that they have a problem, they have a really difficult time understanding what the differences are and how to come to a resolution to their problem. The three things we're going to be talking about today are Microsoft Office 365 groups, Teams, the application, and Teams shared workspaces within the Teams application. Before we dive in, if you like this content, please subscribe to our channel. Let's talk about groups within Office 365. There are a lot of different technologies that make up a group within Office 365. At its core, a lot of people can think of it as a security group. So when you're adding somebody to a group, you're adding them to a security group that you can use for permissions. There's a lot of other things that come with a group, such as a shared mailbox, planner, a SharePoint site where you can store files and collaborate. These are just some of the things that you can do with a group. There's a lot of other resources that Microsoft has built on top of groups to enable collaboration. That is the core meaning of a group, is to be able to use all of these other resources, as well as have a shared security group that you can apply permissions to. Teams, as it is the application within Office 365, is a wrapper around a number of different features within Office 365. And from Microsoft's perspective, they seem to be moving in a direction where that is the intended starting point for your day and your general collaboration with your team. Instead of what you might have used previously, which would have been maybe email or Skype for Business. In Teams, you can do things like chat with individuals or with groups. You can look at your calendar. You can make calls. You can schedule meetings. All of that stuff is available within the Teams application, which obviously is a lot of other technologies. Within the Teams application, you can also create something called a team. A team is a shared workspace that's a little bit special. It basically takes a group, what we talked about previously, and adds on chat functionality and a wrapper and a interface to all of those different features. So within a team, you can actually go in and chat within a channel. A channel has files that get stored with it. Those files are stored within the SharePoint site that's associated with the group. So when you create a team or you manage a team, you also are getting a group behind the scenes. But that group has an additional feature, which is the Teams functionality, which is all the chat, etc. Now, something that you might not realize when you're doing all of these things is that there's a couple different ways to create things, and depending on how you create them, you get different resources. For example, if you're in the Planner application and you want to make a new plan, you can choose to create that as part of a new group. When you do that, you get a new group, but you don't get a team, okay? Same thing with Stream. When you're making a channel within Stream, or if you're in Yammer making a group, all of those things will make a Microsoft group, but they won't get you an associated team. When you create a team, you get a group, and with that group, you can add on associated Stream channels or planners to that group that's associated to the team. But there are subtle differences between how they work, between if you created that group through one of these other resources like Planner or like Stream versus creating it within the Teams application. Probably one of the biggest differences, it relates to how the email address works. If you create a team, straight up a team, that will not really have a functioning email address because Microsoft's intention is that you're using, instead of email, you're using the chat functionality within Teams for all of that collaboration. Whereas if you create a group through one of these other methods, the email address and all of the shared mailbox functionality is kind of built in out of the box. It can be a little confusing depending on where you create those things and how you're managing them. but they're really at their core all part of the same set of technology related to a group and a team. Another piece of technology that may also be confusing in this conversation is a SharePoint team site. You'll notice that it has the word team in it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it has anything to do with a Microsoft team or a group. Now, a SharePoint team site can be what's called group enabled. And so that's the sites that are actually related to a group, which it may then be related to a team, but there's no requirement for that. You can just as easily create a SharePoint team site that has no relation to a group or a team. To summarize our discussion, groups is a technology that enables people to have access to multiple Office 365 resources through a common conduit. That is the group. Teams adds on top of a group the ability to have chats, channels, meetings, etc. And then Teams, the application, is just a window into accessing the team and therefore the group. If you have any questions about this content, please feel free to leave a comment below, and I'll see you next time.